honored the guest to the birthplace of our dynasty. Is mine and mine.
It's me again. I figure it's about time I try RO1 or Rune Level 1 for those who are uninitiated. But like RO1 with all the freedom in the world seems a little bit too easy. Like I could stat boost my way to Oblivion, you know, that's not really that cool. So I was like, what's a sweet weapon that I'd like an excuse to use? I'm like, Caestus! So Elden Ring has two Caestus, Spiked, which does a touch of bleed, and Vanilla, which tastes like ice cream. The main things I wanted to stick to here are that Caestus are my main weapons, pots are okay under certain circumstances, you'll see when we get there. And it will be absolutely no stat boosting gear. Stat boosting gear as in anything that changes the stats, you know, like that are 10, 10, 10, 10 for Rune Level 1. Anything that boosts that is no bueno. It'll also be any percent because I don't think Rykard is possible at RO1 with Caestus only because of the lava and shit. It'd just be a nightmare and I'd just no. And because I made that rule, I'm gonna skim a few bosses that I don't give a shit about. So like You'll Live Another Day, dragons and ancestor spirits. I normally only fight old boy godders for memes. However, there's no class that starts with Caestus, especially not the Wretch. So I thought it'd be fun to punch him to death with my bare fisty boys. With a whopping 8 damage on a backstab, this kinda took a little while, but it was hilariously worth. Now we got to get my weapon of choice, and given I'll be holding onto my runes like Jeff Bezos saves for dick-shaped spacecraft, I can afford to give this old Caelid local a few quid. More of this run is making sure I've got talismans and upgrade gear than fighting bosses, so between each time that I throw down on a Golden Order meat sack, just know I was mugging miners for their rocks. It's worth noting that the most important stuff for my build is Glintstone Whetblade for the Frost Infusion, Blue Dancer Charm because clothes are for losers, Ritual Sword Talisman because my health is full or I'm dead anyway, so may as well benefit, right? Ritual Shield Talisman, Axe Talisman, Dagger Talisman, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, or Claw Talisman, usually slaps in the pouch somewhere. Now we come to the spooky bit. I've never done a level 1 run before in anything Souls related, and I've never beaten Margit under like level 12. My original plan was to try and parry him into the ground. I don't know if you can tell, but I gave up on that pretty quick and instead opted to give him the Redfern handshake and just punch him till his blood falls out. Yo, got the riposte! Suck it! Not only is this bloke a dead-set weasel, but he's the roadblock between me and my plain Caestus. So, I'm just gonna get his bell bearing from inside his chest. So I kind of forgot to write a script for this bit. But then I went back and I watched the fight. And for a guy with so many arms, he really can't do a whole lot of damage. And I had frosty bloody fists, so I just punched the shit out of him. And it worked. He's a big pussy. Done. As is tradition, gotta put the pup down. Hardest part of this was not getting greedy, which for me is very fucking difficult. After a few cracks, the pooch went to the pound in the sky. This boss is important. Like, what if I need to respec? Get it? Okay, be right back. Just murdering the scriptwriter. Wait, I'm the scriptwriter. I wanted to get into Lanedale because there's some crafting mats I wanted, but there's a Gronk on a horse up in my business. So I decided to go balls to the wall, equipped every smack harder talisman without stat boosting that I had, got a magic cracked tier in my flask because after sciencing a bit, I found out that that shit boosts cold damage. And I just fucking stunlocked him so hard he's been demoted back to Lingrave. Just a warm-up for the real deal. Took enough attempts that I know the Ashen Capital isn't going to be easy, and as always with any version of Godfrey, watch your stamina. This seemed wrong. Not doing Radahn third as I normally do. But he kind of scared me at RL1. Few key things here though. Firstly, dodge the first arrow running back. Once you see his model pop out, it resets his AI so you don't have to worry about his shitty fucking arrow attacks, because god fucking damn it. Anyway, then make sure that you don't just run in and plow the bloke. Look for openings like his Angry Boy forward chop combo. That's just free real estate. Then hit him with cold spiked Caestus so you can burn him down super quick. With the right RNG and enough practice, you can send him and Leonard to the glue factory. I was today years old when I learned that you can't parry a fist. In other news, I can revenge punch the teeth out of that silver scuzzbucket's mouth. I remember this bloke. I thought his blood fell out. He's a bit grumpier now, probably because all those people he mentioned didn't want to come to his tea party or whatever the hell was going on. Anyway, pretty simple fight if you just wait for openings. His jump attacks give you a good 4 to 8 slaps in phase 1. Phase 2, they become hen's teeth. So when they aren't happening, look for blood attacks because you can get a few in then. Rinse and repeat. Then you can go get rejected by a tree, you sad, sad person. Now, Estelle could have been cut as well. It was tempting because the shit show of hitting that space bug with daggers only was bad enough. Fists with no health, infinitely worse. But, fucked if this isn't a cool as piss fight. Ultimately, it was just learning all the dodges, looking for the right tail and pincer attacks, because those are where you really get your pound of flesh. Drop the frost, and go pure bleed because he's immune to cold, but is a skull rock hybrid full of blood apparently? Now we'll do this for later. The gatekeeper to the end game. This giant ginge bitch has to be hands down the worst mandatory / remembrance boss in Elden Ring. And this is where I'm going to be ranting over me fighting him. The first problem I have is the terrain, because the area has all these weird cliffs and rocky areas, not to mention fucking trees, that he'll just roll up to some area that you then have to traverse like you're fucking Spider-Man just to attack the prick, and then his feet are going to be at all sorts of munted angles, so God knows what the weasel is doing. Then, when he finally slams his shield down, you're 14 feet below it, but you've been crushed to death anyway. Don't get me started on when he decides to roll in a random direction. So like in this run, I found out that it doesn't matter how the animation starts, he can roll close or far or in any direction. Normally it's fine and he just rolls away normally, but some fucking times. Then let's talk about how his attack spots are designed with close range in mind, but it's a prick to tell exactly which attack he's doing unless you're at like a moderate range. And like this is an issue that FromSoft has had for ages though. Like think about all the giants you've fought or some of the fucking dragons and stuff. But, you know, I guess you can sort of excuse it. Doesn't make it any less annoying though. But then the most criminal part of all of his bullshit is in his phase 2 attacks. He has 2 that unless you have time, you're just fucked. Both stem from fire shooting out of the mouth. One he'll do when you're right near him and it just blasts underneath. I've never been able to outrun it, but it's a pretty rare attack, so didn't really do a lot of testing. The real bastard though is the one where he's on his knee? Did he rip his leg off above or below the knee? Anyway, on his knees, and then he follows you with flames shooting out the mouth. Wouldn't really be an issue, but he can turn quick as fuck. Flame reaches out exactly 63 kilometers from him, so unless you call Bugatti Torrent, he's just ended your whole attempt right fucking there. Anyway, the actual fight sucked hot ass, but I'm pretty sure it took less attempts than like my noob run and my dagger run. First dagger run anyway. The play here was using my plain Caestus with poison slapped on it, purely to get him into phase 1.5 without proccing bleed or frost, then hammer him as best I can into phase 2. In phase 2, I focused on hitting his hand a bit to open, then when he gets all volcano-y, I run under his tackle and punch the shit out of his leg. Then I found out I get less bullshit attacks if I bait out his fist slams, run under him and then just hit his hammy a bit. Everyone's favourite, the Godskin Duo. I was reassuring myself with these pricks. I'm like, bro, if you summon or stat boost, it's fine. Like, YouTube won't talk shit about it. Which is a lie. But I was like, nah. Let's just lay him out clean. This probably took more attempts than any other boss at the point of writing this, but I went through a heap of strats. I tried parrying, that got me necked. I tried the buckler to parry easier, and I may have actually died harder with that one. Then I tried poisoning one with the poison Caestus, and attacking the other. Tried Pure Bleed Caestus. Tried a bunch of different talisman configs. Nothing fruitful. But then I got the old sleepy pots. Ran Cold Spiked Caestus and set my flask to go 50-50. Then I used one of those pointy tin things to slap Golden Vow on. Fuck knows what it actually does, but I look pretty with the gold aura. Next, I lured them in by flexing my groin. Once they're in a lustful state, pegged a snooze bucket to sleep both. Then, smash the knob first, proc every little bit of damage I can, then leg it up onto a pillar while he does his finest Michelin impression. Then I thought, fuck, he must be tired. Get it? Tired? Fuck, I'm great. Anyway, so I slapped him with another pot. Then I murdered him to death. After that, I worked on the little lad, realizing at this point that I forgot to equip the blue lemonade, so I just had to open the inventory and chug that down that way. Put him to sleep again. Basically just juggled sleep and procced bleed and frost and managed to get them both dead. Okay, I know I said it before, but this boss, this one was the hardest. So far. In an entirely fair way though. I tried so many cheeky strats, different infusions, different buffs. At one point I had a magic tier, cold spiked Caestus, a sword to do Golden Vow, and Royal Knight's Resolve on the Caestus. I gave up on that because, well, I just focused on a more like straight up approach. Paying attention to buffs is not a strong suit my brain can handle. So I just slapped on some hype music and just focused. I forced myself to do 10 push-ups per death. This was the end result. The end play was putting RKR on both of my Caestus, having cold spiked Caestus and blood Caestus. First phase, I focus on using frost so I don't proc blood too early, meaning I can trigger bleeds quicker in phase 2. I also found all the attacks I can do charged heavies on. At this point, Napalm Death hit the playlist. I then start flogging into that haemophiliac and staggered him all the way back to the shunning grounds. And I'll let Barney Greenway round out this fight with the OG audio. Mr. Blackblade. The boss I definitely don't know well enough, but totally thought I did because I've beaten him a heap of times while being able to tank hits. Yep, this one was rough as guts, but the weirdest part of all of it? I think phase 1 is the hard part. Sure, phase 2 will shit piss your vigor into the bog like a dodgy kebab, but he lets you know ahead of time. In phase 1, the clergyman gives you no real windows to punish. It's like 2 light hits, at best 4, before he throws a stupid quick retaliation, at which point, you know, in RL1 that's murder. The play here was opening with the bleed Caestus, play it normal, no greed, then after bleed procs, swap to the cold spiked with bloodhound step on it, then find a second to chug my bevy. The flask has magic boost and the confidence bubble. The logic here is so we get plenty of time with the bubble, because I got fucking murked the very moment my bubble popped previously, and because I can boost magic damage, which boosts cold Caestus, perfect. With only blood being procced first, it becomes quicker to freeze the furry. Once I'm in phase 2, it's just knowing my openings and using Bloodhound to get the fuck away from Destined Death, because I cannot, for the life of me, dodge it like a normal person. So I unlock from Old Boy and Bloodhound till my trigger finger is numb. Or twice, you know, same. There you go. No hit Maliketh at RL1. I did it with a giant blister on my right thumb that was the result of my ineptitude in the kitchen. So, you know, that's a thing. Fuck Gideon, shifty prick stealing all the spells I won't use. Gave him the age-old strat, single smacks till he dies. Piece of shit. The king is back, and I'm terrified. While he's being held back by his kitty cat, he isn't so bad. He's like Golden Godfrey with extra protein. The big issue here is stamina. For a guy so jacked, he can move and he'll piss away your stamina bar like nothing else. So I slapped on the stamina regen tier and the coward bubble to get through it. The absolute spud sack smashed my tier early, so I got no safety now. The play here, aside from stam management, is getting in jumping heavy attacks. Why do you ask? Claw Talisman and Staggers. It's a free 800 to 1000 damage when you fist him. Mwah. Getting to phase 2, I just panic and try loop him so he can't break my spine with the wind coming off his hitbox. I got some great RNG in this one and didn't get punished for being a greedy muppet, so win-win. So, after killing the Elden Lord, I thought I'd go tell some bloke that eating seafood is wrong. Long story short, the bloke with the kettle on his head told me about Marika's tits. So I went back in search of the divine sweater meat, and instead was met with Venus de Milo holding a hammer. Fucking stitch up. You know what's worse? It's not even the gummy Venus de Milo. This bloke was definitely not made by gummy artisans who work exclusively in the medium of gummy. Anyway, I stole Kung Lao's hat and decided to slap this bloke's hammer away until he tells me where this Marika lass is at. Now, real talk, it turns out I'm a moron and I had no idea that you could frost Radagon. I was using fire art on him for ages, like literally 5 hours worth of attempts, until I saw an Ong Bal video where they used a cold club and I was like, huh, he can frost. So with this, I get a free 2000 damage boost somewhere in the fight. Here's a prime example of why RL1 is a good time. I've actually had to learn how to fight Radagon. If you've seen my previous vids, it was either burning him down super fast or learning his windows to get the right sorceries in. Well, that's mostly out the fucking window here. Firstly, learning to parry Radagon with the buckler isn't too awful, so I focused on learning all the parryable attacks, which is actually surprisingly most, and then found windows for charged heavy hits. With charged heavies, we open a second avenue to stagger, combine all of this, and it becomes a really, really fun fight. Adore it. Great. Now there's a space whale. This crab dealer was way off the mark. That's it. This extraterrestrial cetacean is going down. As for how I achieve this, well, it's immune to everything fun, so I just need to punch it vanilla style. Use charged heavies as much as I can, try to get the ebony porpoise into a melee cycle. The big thing I found at RL1 was hoping for the perfect RNG, and the moment that grub starts waxing its pole, wail on it. Ha, wail. With heavies to try and stagger it out of Elden stars, because god damn that attack is arse with no health. With my brain only turning to sludge once in the fight, I take down the obsidian dolphin and that's it. Elden Ring, rune level 1. No stat... Fucking psych! So I was telling these roach blokes about the scrambled egg I had at Moog's joint, and all of a sudden this sleeping bird starts raging at me. Something about never knowing the feat, which is weird because I thought that the Lands Between was all about fingers. All the same, I slapped on my trusty buckler and came up with a strat. Use Frost Caestus till Frost procs at the start of the fight, then swap to Blood Caestus and proc Bleed. Once Bleed has been procced, she'll be perfectly ready to defy physics, but for the most part I'll just leg it back a bit and then walk out of it. If she gets real sassy, I have some ice cubes in a jar and I'll take her down a peg. So then after I flog her silly, she just fucking grows wings and claims to be the goddess of rot, which I know isn't true because I've been with girls from southwest Sydney. Knowing at this point that she was a phony, I just kept up the pressure and put her down for good. This is Editor Snacks here, pointing out that no matter how easy parts of this run looked, I am bad and this took ages. 88 hours to be exact, 39 of which were on Malenia and Radagon / Elden Beast. This took an arseload of time to record, so I appreciate all of you making it this far.
Dearest Nicola, my brother, I'm sorry. I finally met my match.
And that's it. RL1, Caestus only. Well, aside from a few jars. No stat boosting, no great runes. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, sub, do all that good stuff, and let me know if you've got any Soulsborne runs you'd like to see. Mwah!
The battle is over, I see.